reform, if we can reduce the health care cost burden on a consumer basis, which is what I want you to be able to do, not have the federal government decide for you, then that way, too, we will be able to afford to have great paying jobs and competitive labor in this country. And that's what we need to do.
We have to lower the taxes. We have to let entrepreneurs succeed. And the only way you can succeed is by lower taxes. Manufacturing. Everyone knows, I have 5 kids, everyone knows the silly bands, right? Everyone here, everyone silly bands that have been, raging across the country. That product could be, or a product like that, could be developed and the manufacturing base can be here right here in Orange County. But this is the deal with New York State. This is federal versus local. The unions come in, and the unions say, you know what? We want a piece. Just like they wanted a piece of the car companies when they went under, they got a piece from the government. Now our government decides how much money that they pay, how much union control, because they're embedded with the unions. We have to free up free market opportunities so those manufacturing jobs can actually come back here. It comes down to common sense, what is needed and how it's done. If I'm a small business owner, like many here in the audience, and I have capital of, say, $1 million that I raised from investors, and I wanted to open up, a deli, just to start for a deli. We know that a deli, you go down the block, they have maybe 2, 3 employees, maybe 2 a shift, 2 every 8-hour shift at the local deli. You hire them, you pay them minimum wage, you hope to make money on your investment, hire more workers, maybe instead of working a 14-hour shift, you're actually open 24 hours. But then the government comes in, who's in bed with the unions, and they say, hi, Mr. DeCarlo, we notice you're paying $7.25 an hour for Camden DeCarlo, who's, when he gets older, he's only 8 years old, but here's Camden DeCarlo. You know what? Camden DeCarlo deserves $12.25 an hour. And his brother, Brady DeCarlo, wants to start a union shop in your small little deli. And you know what? They're allowed to do it. And right now, what are you going to do? We want you to move up to $12.25. The United States government is so large and so massive. We, under my plan, reduce. The more we reduce them, the more we reduce the federal government, the more we have control in all of our lives. And that's how manufacturing will blossom in District 19 and all over the country when we get the unions and the government out of our way. Over-regulation is killing us. Common sense says that if you open up a deli, you shouldn't have to hire a lawyer at $375 an hour in Goshen to figure out the paperwork when you're making a deli sandwich. But that's what Washington, D.C. wants. They want to make it over-regulation, and they want to make it difficult. So instead of using common sense solutions and breaking down the sectors that you want and make it the free economy to work, Washington, D.C. comes after you with the unions on their side, and they try to control our lives. We have to make sure smaller government out of our hands, free markets expand, and more people will have jobs in this country.
There's discussion about a line item veto for the U.S. President. Where do you stand on this subject? Would you vote to approve one? Yeah.
My wife sometimes says that I talk too much. So I'll let you be very easy on this. I'll use 15 seconds out of a total of 3 minutes. It's unconstitutional. I would never vote for it.
I actually think it'd be great if we had a line item veto, and I would work for a constitutional amendment to facilitate such a thing. However, there are measures that we can take now, fully within the purview of the Congress and fully within the Constitution to make a line item veto a thing of the past. And that is to have clean bills. That's one of the major initiatives that some of our Republican leaders have talked about, including John Boehner most recently, but I've heard it from others. We need to have bills in the Congress that are understandable to you, the voter, the citizen, in plain English. They should not extend beyond, 20 pages. That was actually the length of the Constitution that established this magnificent government. And if we don't have the federal government trying granularly to control every aspect of your personal life and of your pocketbook, we can actually have short, clean bills. A clean bill means it deals with one issue on which your member of Congress has to give an up or down vote. And if we have clean bills, we also won't have the opportunity to lard them with earmark appropriations. Earmark appropriations are bad in several ways. One way is that they usually waste taxpayer money. Almost always they do, unfortunately, because they are for special projects that wouldn't otherwise be voted affirmatively, but they become part, as we all know, of bigger bills for which there's lots of support. Earmark appropriations are also used to buy support for bills that are very expensive and beyond the scope of what you, as the citizens, need to have happen. So there are many ways in which we can get around the issue of a line item veto and do what you need to have done. The impetus for the line item veto comes from the fact that we are trying to get this behemoth under control. So my goal for you is to have clean bills in plain language that don't extend to dozens or hundreds of pages, God knows, not thousands of pages, and that are available for you to review on the internet for several days at least prior to their being voted on, so that I can listen to you and understand what you want to have happen. And I thank you.
Okay, I'm going to be combining questions as well. Since neither one of you came from a political life, why did you each choose to run for Congress? And as a continuation of that, will both of you pledge that regardless of which one of you wins the GOP nod, that you'll each support the eventual winner to the fullest of your ability?
The reason I'm running is conviction and passion. I have a passion for the freedoms that belong uniquely to us as Americans. The Constitution enshrines natural rights considered to be endowed to us by God. And I believe with my whole heart that this Constitution that we have is a unique blessing for the American people. It was a miracle. The more you think about it historically, what a miracle. At once precious and robust, that we have a Constitution that grants us the right to live our lives without the interference of the federal government in our personal affairs, in our pocketbooks, so that we can actually reach our full potential according to our talents and motivation, that we can do what is right and decent within a civil society according to our hearts and consciences. That is and our consciences, I'm so sorry, but that is an extraordinary gift, unique in all the world. It is threatened now by a philosophy, by an ideology that is represented in Washington that says the federal government can dictate to you how best to live your life. If you agree with everything the federal government wants to do for you, then that's not a problem. But it's a terrible problem when the federal government decides on ways for you to live your life that don't make sense to you and that should not be imposed upon you. So I believe passionately and fervently in that Constitution. I want to preserve and promote and defend it for generations to come. I want this land to be one that will have the rich opportunities that I enjoy. I want my children and God willing grandchildren to have that. And by the way, I'm not babysitting all the time. I'm going to be busy. But that's the extraordinary blessing that I seek to preserve and protect and defend, and that's why I'm running. In terms of the Republican nomination, I am very hopeful that I will earn your votes. However, I will be running on the conservative and independence line, so I do intend to vote for myself either way.
Responsible for a large family. They might be wrong. And I understand that the candidates that were running in the beginning were not going to serve our best interests. My obligation is first and foremost to my family. I want my 4 boys and 1 girl to have the same opportunities that I had growing up in Mount Vernon, New York. A small town, ravaged with poverty. But we all had one common goal, and that was to stick up for each other. Our word was our bond. When we walked the streets of Mount Vernon, we didn't have any cars. We had, if I was lucky, I had 1 bicycle in my entire lifetime. But we worked together, whether it was whether I was working in the deli or further jobs. I had an opportunity to work at a young age. Right now, with the way the government is controlling our lives, when my kids reach the age of 21, the government's going to tell them where to work. I don't want that to happen. My job is to protect my family. I'm running. But one of the reasons is to be a servant for you and to protect the family that I love. If politicians focused on taking care of you like they would do their own family, Washington, D.C. would be a better place. We have to remember, we're serving you. As far as my opponent goes, of course I'll win September 14th. I don't think I'll write her in, but I'll answer the question if I lose on September 14th. I have a firm set of beliefs. If my opponent followed all those beliefs, I would vote for her. She doesn't. She's pro-abortion. I have no idea where she stands on gay marriage. I know that she wants to take 49 cents of every dollar that I earn. How can I vote for the party when I would be selling out to my children who say, Dad, you stepped up to the plate to run for Congress. You believe what you believe in, and you're voting for someone who doesn't believe what you believe in. I would not be able to protect my children by voting for Nanny.
Diana has once again shown to be the better moderator with that final question. There was no provision for a final statement or closing statement, but I don't think I've ever heard 2 better closing statements than the one that we heard in response to her last question. So I would ask that the audience express their appreciation to our candidates at this time.